The morning sky above New York City turned black in an instant. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UED flagship Defiance, watching through the main screen as massive alien ships blotted out the sun. Each enemy vessel was the size of a city block, their dark hulls covered in strange symbols that seemed to shift and move. "How many?" Chen asked her tactical officer. 200 confirmed contacts, Admiral. More coming through the jump points every minute. Chen felt her stomach drop. The United Earth Defense Force had only 30 ships, and most of those were still experimental. Humanity had been preparing for first contact for decades, but not like this. Not as an invasion. The alien fleet moved with perfect coordination. Their ships spread across Earth's orbit like a net, cutting off all escape routes. The enemy vessels were beautiful and terrible at the same time. They moved without visible engines, gliding through space like deadly fish through dark water. "Incoming. Transmission," reported Communications Officer Martinez. "It's on all frequencies, all languages. Put it through," Chen ordered. The voice that filled the bridge was cold and mechanical, but the English was perfect. "People of Earth, we are the Zephyrian hegemony. Your world now belongs to us. Surrender your weapons and leaders, or watch your cities burn. You have 1 hour to comply." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Chen looked around at her crew. They were young, most of them fresh from the academy. They had trained for exploration missions, not war. "Admiral," called out Lieutenant Torres from the sensor station. "Enemy ships are moving into attack position above major population centers." On the tactical display, Chen watched red dots position themselves over New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, and a dozen other cities. Each red dot represented a ship that could level a continent. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen," she broadcast to the fleet. "Prepare for combat. Protect the orbital stations at all costs." The first shots came without warning. Brilliant green beams lanced down from the alien ships, striking Earth's orbital defense platforms. The platforms had taken 20 years to build and cost trillions of dollars. They died in seconds, exploding in silent fireballs that lit up the darkness of space. "Return fire!" Chen shouted. The human ships opened up with everything they had. Fusion missiles streaked toward the alien fleet, followed by plasma cannon bursts and railgun rounds. For a moment, Chen felt hope as their weapons struck home. The hope died quickly. The alien shields absorbed every hit without even flickering. The missiles exploded harmlessly against barriers of pure energy. The plasma shots scattered like raindrops on glass. "Our weapons aren't even scratching them," reported the weapons officer. One of the alien ships turned toward the Defiance. It was massive, at least 3 times larger than Chen's flagship. Strange lights ran along its hull in patterns that hurt to look at directly. A green beam lanced out, striking the UED destroyer Courage. The beam cut through the ship's shields and armor like they weren't there. The Courage broke apart in a flash of white light, taking its crew of 200 with it. "Evasive maneuvers," Chen ordered. The Defiance rolled and dove, trying to avoid the alien weapons. Around them, the rest of the human fleet scattered like leaves in a storm. They were outgunned, outmatched, and running out of time. "Admiral, we're getting reports from the surface," Martinez called out. "The aliens are landing troops in major cities." Chen switched to the surface feeds. The images made her heart sink. Alien soldiers in powered armor were marching through the streets of New York. Their weapons cut down anything that moved. Human military forces tried to resist, but their bullets bounced off alien armor like toys. The enemy soldiers moved like machines, perfect and emotionless. They herded civilians into groups, separating the young from the old. Transport ships landed to collect the prisoners, but Chen couldn't figure out what they wanted with them. "Why aren't they just killing everyone?" asked Torres. Chen studied the tactical display. The alien fleet had the power to glass the entire planet in minutes, but they weren't doing it. They were being careful, almost gentle in some ways. It didn't make sense. "They want something," Chen realized. "This isn't just conquest, they need something from us." Another human ship died, the frigate Hope vanishing in a ball of green fire. The human fleet was down to 20 ships and falling fast. At this rate, they would all be dead within the hour. "Admiral," called out the sensor operator. "I'm detecting something strange." "What kind of strange?" Chen demanded. "Long-range sensors are picking up a gravitational anomaly in the outer system. Something big is moving fast, but I can't get a clear reading." Chen frowned. The last thing they needed was another alien fleet arriving to finish them off. But as she watched the tactical display, she noticed something odd about the Zephyrian formation. The alien ships were pulling back from Earth's surface. Their perfect attack formation was shifting, becoming more defensive. It was subtle, but Chen had been studying space warfare her entire career. The aliens were repositioning to face a threat from outside the system. "They're afraid of something," she whispered. "Admiral?" Torres looked confused. Chen pointed at the display. "Look at their formation. They're not pressing their advantage. They could have taken the planet in the first 10 minutes, but they're holding back." As if to prove her point, the Zephyrian ships began moving into a sphere formation around Earth. It wasn't an attack formation, it was defensive, designed to protect against threats coming from deep space. The communications board lit up with incoming signals from the surface. Reports of alien troops suddenly stopping their advance, taking defensive positions instead of pushing deeper into the cities. Whatever was coming, had the Zephyrians worried enough to pause their invasion. Chen made a decision that would haunt her for years to come. All ships fall back to lunar orbit. Don't engage unless fired upon. "Admiral?" Her tactical officer looked shocked. "If the aliens are afraid of something, I want to see what it is before we all die for nothing." The surviving human ships retreated, leaving Earth's skies to the alien invaders. Chen watched the planet grow smaller on the screen, its blue surface marred by the dark shapes of enemy vessels. Smoke rose from burning cities, visible even from orbit. As they reached the moon, the gravitational anomaly in the outer system grew, stronger. Whatever was coming was massive, bigger than anything in the Zephyrian fleet. It was moving at impossible speed, bending space around it like a stone in water. "Time to contact?" Chen asked. "At current speed, 6 hours, Torres replied. Chen looked at her remaining ships, then at the alien fleet surrounding Earth. Humanity was caught between two unknown forces, and she had no idea which one would destroy them first. The waiting began. In the distance, Earth continued to burn while its would-be saviors watched helplessly from the shadows of the moon. Whatever was coming from the outer dark, Chen could only pray it was more interested in the aliens than in finishing what the Zephyrians had started. The war for Earth had begun, but the real battle was still 6 hours away. Captain Marcus Rodriguez gripped the command chair of the Horizon's Edge as his ship raced toward the unknown contact. The small reconnaissance vessel was one of the few human ships fast enough to investigate the mysterious signal before it reached Earth. "Distance to contact?" Rodriguez asked his navigator. 50,000 kilometers and closing, came the reply. "Sir, whatever that thing is, it's huge. Our sensors can barely map its full size." Rodriguez studied the readings on his screen. The object was definitely artificial, but unlike anything in human or Zephyrian design files, it moved through space, without any visible means of propulsion, leaving a wake in the fabric of reality itself. "Any response to our hails?" he asked. Communications Officer Park shook her head. "Nothing, sir. It's like they don't even know we're here." The Horizon's Edge had been on a routine patrol mission when the invasion began. They were too far out to help in the first battle, but close enough to monitor the strange gravitational readings that had appeared shortly after the alien fleet arrived. "Sir," called out sensor operator Kim, "I'm getting some weird readings from the contact. There are energy signatures I've never seen before, but some of the materials, they're showing up as human-manufactured alloys." Rodriguez frowned. "That's impossible. No human ship has ever been this far out." "I'm double-checking the readings, sir. The hull composition definitely includes titanium steel compounds, consistent with early 21st century manufacturing techniques." The mystery deepened as they drew closer. The ship that appeared on their screens defied all logic. It was massive, easily 3 times the size of the largest Zephyrian dreadnought. Its hull was scarred with battle damage from weapons that had left marks unlike anything Rodriguez had ever seen. The design was angular and predatory, built for war rather than exploration. Strange symbols covered its surface, weathered by time and combat. Most disturbing of all, sections of the hull showed clear human design elements mixed with alien technology Rodriguez couldn't identify. "Captain?" Park's voice was tight with excitement and fear. "I'm picking up faint electromagnetic signatures. This ship has been in space for a very long time, but it's definitely still active." Rodriguez made a decision. "Open a channel on all frequencies. Full spectrum broadcast. Channel." "Open, sir." "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Marcus Rodriguez of the United Earth Defense Force ship Horizon's Edge. Please respond. Earth is under attack, and we need to know your intentions." For long minutes there was only silence. Then the communications board exploded with activity. "Sir, we're receiving a response, but—" Park's face went white. "Captain, they're responding in Old Norse." "What?" "The computer is translating, but sir, this is a dead language. Nobody has spoken this fluently for over 1,000 years." "Thai?" Voice that came through the speakers was clearly human, but speaking in a language that belonged in history books. The computer's translation appeared on screen in real time. "Ship of Earth, you sail in dangerous waters. We are the Gjallarhorner, and we have traveled far to reach this place. Who commands your vessel?" Rodriguez stared at the translation. "This is Captain Marcus Rodriguez. Who are you? How do you know Old Norse?" There was a pause. Then a different voice responded. This one spoke accented English mixed with Norse words. "I am Astrid Eriksdottir, shield maiden of the Gjallarhornar. We are the children of Earth, lost long ago but not forgotten. The wolf ships that circle your world have done this before. They are hunters of young races, and they must be stopped." The ship began to change as Rodriguez watched. Sections of hull that had appeared damaged started shifting, revealing weapon ports and sensor arrays that had been hidden beneath false plating. The vessel had been disguised, made to look more damaged than it actually was. "Captain Eriksdottir," Rodriguez said carefully, "what do you mean by children of Earth? Our records show no human expeditions that could have traveled this far." "Your records would not know of us," Astrid replied. "We were taken from your world 800 winters ago, before your people reached for the stars. The architects stole us from our homes, but we broke free from their chains. We have spent centuries preparing for this day." Kim's instruments were going crazy. "Sir, that ship is scanning us with technology I can't even identify. The energy readings are off the charts." "Astrid," Rodriguez said, using her first name in hopes of building trust. "Earth is under attack by something called the Zephyrian hegemony. They have overwhelming force. Can you help us?" A sound that might have been laughter came through the speakers. "The Zephyrians. Yes, we know them well. They have destroyed 17 worlds that bore your kind. They hunt races on the edge of becoming spacefaring, crushing them before they can spread among the stars." Rodriguez felt a chill. 17 worlds? Colony ships that left Earth in secret, experimental programs your governments never acknowledged, generation ships that disappeared without trace. The Zephyrians found them all, but they have never faced humans who had time to prepare. The massive ship began to change again. Its hull plates shifted like puzzle pieces, revealing the true shape beneath. It was a predator, built for hunting. Other predators. Weapon systems that belonged in nightmares emerged from hidden compartments. "Sir," Kim whispered, "whatever technology they're using, it's at least a century ahead of anything we have. Maybe more." "How many ships do you have?" Rodriguez asked. "Enough," Astrid replied. "We have been gathering the survivors, building our strength. The galaxy is not empty of your kind, Captain Rodriguez. We have been preparing for this war for longer than your nation has existed." Rodriguez looked at his crew. They were staring at the screens in wonder and terror. The ship before them represented hope, but also questions that challenged everything humanity thought it knew about itself. "The Zephyrians have taken Earth," Rodriguez reported. "Admiral Chen's fleet was destroyed in the first engagement. We're the only ones left out here." "Not the only ones," Astrid corrected. Signal your admiral. Tell her to gather what ships remain and prepare for battle. The Einherjar sail to war, and the wolves will learn why humans are the most dangerous prey in the galaxy. Einherjar? The chosen slain. Warriors who died in battle and were reborn for the final war. We have been waiting for this day since we first broke free from alien chains. The communications channel closed, leaving Rodriguez and his crew in stunned silence. The massive ship began to accelerate toward Earth, its true speed making their fastest vessels look like crawling insects. "Sir," Park said quietly, "should we follow them?" Rodriguez looked at the battle-scarred hull disappearing into the distance. "Set course for lunar orbit. Admiral Chen needs to hear about this in person." As the horizon's edge changed course, Rodriguez wondered what they had just encountered. Were these really humans from Earth's past, or something else wearing a human face? Either way, the war for Earth had just become far more complicated. Behind them, space began to shimmer as more ships decloaked, following the Gjallarhorner toward the blue world that had once been their home. The meeting took place aboard the Defiance in what had once been the ship's main briefing room. Now it served as humanity's last war council. Admiral Chen sat across from the woman who called herself Astrid Eric's daughter, trying to process what she was seeing. Astrid looked human, but not quite. She was tall and muscular, with pale skin marked by intricate tattoos that seemed to move in the light. Her eyes were the same blue as Earth's oceans, but they held depths that spoke of centuries rather than decades. She wore armor that combined metal plates with some kind of energy field, creating a shimmer around her form. "You claim to be from Earth," Chen said carefully, "but our records show no colony ships leaving 800 years ago." Astrid smiled, and Chen noticed her teeth were slightly pointed. "Your records would not show what your leaders chose to forget. Tell me, Admiral, what do you know of the Viking expeditions to Greenland in your year 1200? They failed. The colony was abandoned. The colony was taken, Astrid corrected. 300 souls, men and women both, stolen in the night by beings your ancestors called the Wild Hunt. We thought we were dead. We wished we were dead." She stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel surrounded by enemy ships. "The architects took us to learn about your species. They were preparing for something they called the Great Work. We were their test subjects." Chen's science officer, Dr. Yamamoto, leaned forward. "What kind of tests?" Astrid's expression darkened. "They changed us, made us stronger, faster, more intelligent. They extended our lives and enhanced our minds. But they also did worse things. They tried to break our spirits, to make us into tools for their use." "But you escaped," Rodriguez said. He had arrived an hour earlier with his report, and Chen had asked him to stay for this meeting. "We broke free," Astrid agreed. "It took 200 years, but we learned to use their own technology against them. When we finally fought our way to freedom, we found that the architects had been destroyed by something else. The galaxy was full of younger races fighting over the scraps of their empire." Chen studied the tactical display showing the positions of both fleets. The Zephyrian ships still surrounded Earth, but they had pulled back into defensive formations. They knew the mysterious fleet was coming. "How many ships do you have?" Chen asked. "Enough to make the Zephyrians remember why they fear the children of Earth," Astrid replied. "We have been building our strength for 6 centuries, Admiral. We have gathered the survivors from 17 destroyed worlds. We have salvaged technology from a dozen fallen empires. We have turned ourselves into the weapon that will end this cycle of hunting." Dr. Yamamoto pulled up a holographic display. "These energy readings from your ship don't match anything in our databases. The power output alone should be impossible." Astrid touched a control on her armor, and a small device materialized in her hand. It looked like a combination of crystal and metal pulsing with internal light. 0-point energy extraction, combined with quantum manipulation technology. "We learned much from the architects before we killed them all." The casual way she mentioned genocide made Chen uncomfortable. "You destroyed an entire species?" "They destroyed themselves," Astrid said coldly. "We simply helped them along. The architects believed they could reshape the galaxy to their will. They forgot that some prey bites back. Captain Rodriguez spoke up. The Zephyrians. You said they destroyed 17 human worlds? Astrid nodded grimly. Colony ships, research stations, experimental settlements your governments never acknowledged. The Zephyrians specialize in finding young races just as they develop spaceflight. They study them, learn their weaknesses, then crush them before they can spread. Why? Chen demanded. What's the purpose? Resources, territory, sport. Astrid's voice was bitter. The Zephyrians are an old race, Admiral. They have ruled their corner of the galaxy for millennia. Young races represent potential competition. It is easier to destroy them early than to fight them later when they are strong. She activated another holographic display, showing the layout of the Zephyrian fleet. But they have made mistakes with your world. They expected easy victory as they always have. They did not expect resistance, and they certainly did not expect us. Chen looked at the display. What do you know about their tactics? Everything, Astrid said with satisfaction. We have been fighting them for 300 years, hit-and-run attacks, rescue missions, intelligence, gathering. We know their ships, their weapons, their commanders. Most importantly, we know their weaknesses. Dr. Yamamoto leaned forward eagerly. Their shields seemed impenetrable to our weapons. Because you were using the wrong weapons, Astrid explained. Zephyrian shields are designed to stop energy weapons and kinetic projectiles. They work by creating a barrier that absorbs and disperses incoming force. She manipulated the hologram, showing the shield's energy pattern. But they have a fatal flaw. The shields must allow their own weapons to pass through. There is a brief moment when the barrier adjusts its frequency to let their beams out. If you time your attack perfectly, you can slip through. Rodriguez whistled softly. That would require split-second timing. Which is why we modified ourselves, Astrid said, tapping her temple. Enhanced reflexes, faster processing speed, direct, neural interface with our weapon systems. We can think and react faster than their computers can adjust. Chen felt a spark of hope for the first time since the invasion began. What about their command structure? Hierarchical and rigid, Astrid replied. They rely heavily on their flagship for coordination. Destroy or disable the command ship, and the rest of the fleet becomes confused and vulnerable. Can your ships do it? Astrid smiled, and this time it looked predatory. Admiral, we have spent 8 centuries turning ourselves into the perfect weapon for hunting predators. The Zephyrians are about to learn what happens when the prey evolves. Chen made her decision. What do you need from us? Your knowledge of this system's gravity wells, your remaining ships as a distraction, and your willingness to fight alongside warriors who are no longer entirely human. Chen looked around the room at her officers. They were scared, but she could see determination in their eyes. Humanity had been pushed to the brink of extinction, but they weren't dead yet. We'll fight, she said simply. Astrid nodded approvingly. Good. Signal your remaining ships to take position behind lunar orbit. We will decloak our fleet and begin the assault in 2 hours. How many ships are we talking about? Rodriguez asked. Astrid's smile widened. Enough to darken the sky. The Einherjar have come home, and we bring the fury of 8 centuries of war. She stood and walked toward the door, but paused at the threshold. Admiral, there is something else you should know. The Zephyrians are not the greatest threat in the galaxy. They are hunters, yes, but there are things in the deep dark that make them look like children playing with toys. When we win this battle, and we will win, your people must be ready for what comes next. What comes next? Chen asked. The real war, Astrid replied. The one we have been preparing for since the day we broke our chains. She left them alone with that thought, heading back to her ship to prepare for battle. Chen looked at her officers and saw her own thoughts reflected in their faces. They had allies now, but those allies brought questions that challenged everything humanity thought it knew about the galaxy and their place in it. The war for Earth was about to begin in earnest. The space around Earth shimmered like water, and suddenly the darkness was filled with ships. Dozens of them appeared at first, then hundreds, each one materializing from cloak with the silence of death itself. The Einherjar fleet spread across, the solar system like a pack of wolves surrounding their prey. Admiral Chen watched from the bridge of the Defiance as the alien formation reacted to the new arrivals. The Zephyrian ships that had been confidently surrounding Earth suddenly found themselves trapped between two forces. Their perfect sphere formation began to collapse as they tried to face threats coming from multiple directions. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Torres, "look at the size of some of those ships." The Einherjar fleet was unlike anything in human or alien design files. Some ships were sleek and fast, built for hit-and-run attacks. Others were massive dreadnoughts covered in weapon ports and armor plating. All of them bore the scars of countless battles, their hulls decorated with symbols that seemed to writhe in the starlight. "Incoming transmission from the Gjallarhorner," reported Communications Officer Martinez. Astrid's voice filled the bridge, calm and confident despite the chaos erupting around them. "Admiral Chen, position your ships behind the moon and prepare to engage on my signal. We will break their formation, then you can strike at their weak points." "Understood," Chen replied. "All human ships maintain position until ordered otherwise." The Zephyrian fleet tried to reform their defensive line, but the Einherjar ships were already moving. They didn't attack in formation like conventional fleets. Instead, they moved like living things, individual predators working together to bring down larger prey. The first exchange of fire lit up space like a solar flare. The Zephyrians opened up with their green plasma beams, the same weapons that had cut through human ships like paper. But when the beams struck Einherjar shields, something different happened. The alien weapons were absorbed and reflected back, turned into rainbow-colored energy that scattered across the enemy formation. Where the reflected beam struck Zephyrian ships, their shields flickered and failed. "How are they doing that?" asked Dr. Yamamoto. Chen studied the tactical display. "They're using the aliens' own weapons against them." Astrid said they knew the shield frequencies. The Einherjar ships closed distance with impossible speed. Their weapons were unlike anything Chen had ever seen. Some fired beams of pure force that seemed to bend space around their targets. Others launched projectiles that phased in and out of reality, appearing inside enemy ships without passing through their shields. A Zephyrian cruiser tried to escape, accelerating away from Earth at maximum speed. 3 Einherjar fighters pursued it, their smaller ships somehow matching the larger vessel's velocity. Chen watched as they surrounded the cruiser and fired in perfect coordination. The alien ship simply vanished. Not destroyed, not disabled, but erased from existence as if it had never been there at all. "What kind of weapons can do that?" Torres asked in horror. "The kind you develop when you spend 8 centuries learning to kill things that are supposedly unkillable," Chen replied grimly. The battle was turning into a massacre, but not the one the Zephyrians had planned. Their superior numbers meant nothing when they couldn't hit their targets. The Einherjar ships moved like ghosts, appearing and disappearing at will, striking from impossible angles. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the communication system from his position with the scouting force. "Admiral, I'm seeing something strange. The Zephyrian flagship is trying to retreat, but there are Einherjar ships moving to intercept." Chen switched to long-range sensors and saw what he meant. The massive Zephyrian command ship, easily the size of a city, was attempting to break orbit and flee into deep space. But it was being herded by smaller Einherjar vessels, driven toward a specific point in space. "Astrid," Chen called over the communication channel. "What are your ships doing?" "To their flagship?" "Preparing a gift for you, Admiral," came the reply. "Your people deserve the honor of striking the killing blow against those who would have enslaved your world." Chen realized what was happening. The Einherjar weren't trying to destroy the Zephyrian flagship themselves. They were positioning it for the human fleet to attack. It was both a tactical decision and a symbolic one. "All human ships," Chen broadcast, "prepare to engage the enemy flagship. This is our chance to strike back." The remaining UED vessels moved out from behind the moon, their fusion engines blazing as they accelerated toward the trapped Zephyrian command ship. Chen felt her heart pounding as they closed the distance. This was humanity's moment to prove they could fight back against the galaxy's predators. "Weapons range in 30 seconds, reported the tactical officer. Chen watched the alien flagship grow larger on her screen. It was damaged now, its shields flickering from the constant harassment by Einherjar fighters. But it was still dangerous, its weapon ports glowing with deadly energy. "Wait for it," Chen said, remembering Astrid's lessons about shield frequencies. "Wait for them to fire." Green beams lanced out from the Zephyrian ship, aimed at the approaching human fleet. Chen's ship scattered, but she kept her eyes on the tactical display, watching the enemy shield patterns. "Now," she shouted, "all ships, concentrate fire on the command section." Human weapons struck the alien flagship just as its shields cycled to allow its own beams to pass through. Fusion missiles, plasma cannons, and railgun rounds all hit at the same moment, punching through the failing barriers and into the ship's hull. The Zephyrian flagship shuddered under the impact. Secondary explosions rippled along its length as critical systems failed, but it was still intact, still fighting. "Rodriguez," Chen called out, "take your ship and target their engine section. We need to keep them from running." "Copy that, Admiral." The Horizon's Edge dove toward the alien ship's rear, its small size allowing it to avoid the defensive fire. Rodriguez guided his ship through the maze of weapon ports and sensor arrays, looking for the perfect shot. He found it in a maintenance port that had been damaged by earlier attacks. Without hesitation, he fired everything his ship had directly into the opening. The Zephyrian flagship's engines exploded in a chain reaction that lit up half the solar system. The massive ship began to tumble, its power failing as critical systems went offline. Around them, the rest of the Zephyrian fleet was in full retreat. Those ships that could still move were fleeing toward the edge of the solar system, abandoning their ground forces and their mission. The Einherjar ships let them go, apparently content to have broken the invasion force. "Admiral," Martinez called out excitedly, "we're receiving a transmission from the Zephyrian flagship. They want to surrender." Chen stared at the tactical display, in disbelief. The aliens who had been ready to enslave or destroy humanity an hour ago were now begging for mercy. The predators had become prey, and they didn't know how to handle the reversal. "Put them through," she ordered. The voice that came through the speakers was no longer cold and mechanical. It was frightened, desperate. "Human fleet, this is Commander Zexhai of the Hegemony vessel World Taker. We formally surrender our forces to your command. Please show mercy to our remaining crew." Chen looked at her bridge crew, seeing her own amazement reflected in their faces. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity had won. But as she opened her mouth to reply, Astrid's voice cut across the channel. "The galaxy will know what happened here today. The age of hunting young races is over. Humanity has returned to the stars, and we are no longer alone." Chen realized that this victory was more than just Earth's salvation. It was a declaration of war against every species that preyed on the weak. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had two branches now, and both of them were absolutely terrifying when threatened. 3 months after the battle for Earth, Admiral Chen stood in the newly constructed conference room aboard the orbital station Unity. The station floated where the Zephyrian flagship had died, its wreckage now being salvaged by joint human Einherjar engineering teams. Around the table sat representatives from both branches of humanity. Admiral Chen represented Earth's United Defense Force, while Astrid Eriksdotter spoke for the Einherjar fleet. Between them sat Captain Rodriguez, who had been promoted to lead the new Combined Intelligence Division. "The integration is proceeding better than expected," Rodriguez reported, consulting his datapad. "Our people are learning Einherjar technology faster than anticipated, and your people seem to understand our industrial methods." Astrid nodded approvingly. "Your descendants adapted well to the stars, Admiral. The architects tried to break our spirits, but they could not remove the human gift for learning and growing." Chen studied the reports flowing across her screen. Earth's factories were working around the clock to produce new ships using Einherjar designs. The technology was centuries ahead of anything humanity had possessed before, but it was still recognizably human in its approach. "What about the survivors from the other worlds?" Chen asked. "They are arriving daily," Astrid replied. 17 human colonies that the Zephyrians destroyed over the past 2 centuries. We saved what we could, kept the survivors hidden until we were strong enough to act. There are over 3 million humans scattered across our fleet, Admiral, all of them eager to see Earth. Dr. Yamamoto entered the conference room carrying a sealed container. The analysis is complete, he announced. The Zephyrian command staff were very cooperative once they realized we weren't going to execute them. He activated a holographic display showing a map of the local galactic region. Red dots marked Zephyrian territory, while blue indicated areas of human influence. The blue dots were scattered but numerous. The hegemony controlled over 400 systems, Yamamoto continued. But their empire was built on fear and overwhelming force. With their main fleet destroyed and their command structure broken, subject worlds are declaring independence daily. Chen leaned forward. Are they likely to regroup and attack again? Astrid shook her head. The Zephyrians rule through terror, Admiral. Their subject races feared them because they seemed invincible. Now that we have proven they can be beaten, their empire will collapse within a year. Rodriguez pointed to several yellow dots on the map. These are the species that want to join our coalition. They're calling it the Terran Alliance. Apparently, word has spread that humans are willing to protect weaker races instead of conquering them. How many species? Chen asked. 47. So far, with more requesting membership every day. It seems the galaxy is full of races that were tired of living under the boot of empires like the Zephyrians. Chen felt a mix of pride and worry. Humanity had gone from near extinction to galactic power in just 3 months. But with power came responsibility, and she wasn't sure they were ready for it. Astrid, she said, you mentioned that the Zephyrians weren't the greatest threat in the galaxy. What did you mean? Astrid's expression grew serious. She activated her own holographic display, showing regions of space marked in black. The Devourers, she said simply. The architects called them the hunger that walks between stars. They are older than the Zephyrians, older than most of the galaxy's current inhabitants. What do? Rodriguez asked. They consume entire solar systems, not just the planets but the stars themselves. They take the energy and matter and use it to build more of themselves. The architects fought a war against them 10,000 years ago and barely survived. Chen stared at the black regions on the map. They were vast, containing hundreds of star systems. Are they still active? They move slowly, taking centuries to consume a system completely. But yes, they are still out there. The architects believed they were contained, but recent intelligence suggests they are starting to move again. Dr. Yamamoto pulled up energy, readings from deep space monitoring stations. We have detected some unusual signals from those regions, gravitational anomalies that don't match any natural phenomena. How long do we have? Chen asked. Astrid considered the question carefully. Perhaps 50 years before they reach the edge of inhabited space. Maybe less if something has awakened them. Rodriguez set down his datapad with a heavy thud. So we've gone from fighting for our survival to preparing for a war against cosmic horrors that eat stars. Welcome to the galaxy, Captain, Astrid said with dark humor. This is why we spent 8 centuries preparing. The Zephyrians were just the first test. Chen stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at Earth hanging in space below. The blue world looked peaceful from here, its surface already showing signs of recovery from the invasion. Construction ships moved between orbital facilities, building the infrastructure needed for humanity's new role. What do you recommend? She asked. We build the alliance, Astrid replied. We gather as many species as possible under one banner. We share technology, coordinate defenses, and prepare for the real war. The Devourers can only be stopped by united action. And if we fail, then the galaxy goes dark, and the hunger spreads to other galaxies until there is nothing left but empty space. Chen turned back to the table. Then we don't fail. Rodriguez, I want you to coordinate with the intelligence services of our new allies. I need to know everything about these Devourers, their capabilities, their weaknesses, their movement patterns. Yes, Admiral. Dr. Yamamoto, work with the Einherjar scientists to develop new weapons and defenses. If we're going to fight things that eat stars, we need tools that can work on that scale. Understood. Chen looked at Astrid. And I need you to help us build this alliance. Your people have been preparing for this war for centuries. We need that experience. Astrid stood and offered her hand in the ancient gesture of alliance. The Einherjar swore an oath long ago to protect the children of Earth from the darkness between stars. That oath extends to our new home and all who would stand with us. Chen shook her hand, feeling the calluses of a warrior who had fought battles across the galaxy. Then let's get to work. As they left the conference room, Chen paused at the viewport one more time. In the distance, she could see the lights of Einherjar ships moving through the solar system. They were no longer strangers from the past, but partners in humanity's future. The war for Earth was over, but the war for the galaxy was just beginning. Humanity had survived its first test as a spacefaring species, but greater challenges waited in the darkness between the stars. The communication board chimed with an incoming message from the Deep Space Monitoring Network. Rodriguez checked the signal and his face went pale. "Admiral," he said quietly, "we're detecting massive gravitational distortions in the Rigel sector. Something very large is moving through hyperspace, heading toward inhabited systems." Chen felt her stomach drop. "Time to arrival? At current speed, 18 months. Astrid looked at the readings and nodded grimly. "It begins. The real war has found us sooner than expected." Chen looked out at Earth one more time, then turned toward the command center. "All stations, this is Admiral Chen. Implement Protocol 7. It's time to see what humanity can do when we're not fighting alone." The galaxy would soon learn that Earth's children had evolved in the darkness, and they were ready for whatever nightmares waited in the deep black between the stars.